Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mad Scientist Brewing Beer Education Series. In this week's episode, I'm going to be talking about Cask Ale. Cask Ale is a traditional method for serving beer which originated in the United Kingdom, in which beer was sent from the brewery to pubs in wooden casks while the beer was still fermenting. These casks would be cared for by knowledgeable workers called cellarmen, who would monitor the fermentation in the keg to get the beer to have a lively but not excessive carbonation. For a long time, this was the standard method for serving beer. But after the development of metal kegs and forced carbonation with CO2 tanks, the traditional method almost went extinct. It was through the work of advocates such as CAMRA, the Campaign for Real Ale, that this technique was revitalized and is still commonplace in the UK. Although less common abroad, some bars and pubs still serve cask ale in other countries as well. In Maine, you're likely to find them at places like Great Macduff's, which is in Portland, Freeport, and Auburn, the Liberal Cup in Hollowell, and Airline Brewing Company in both Amherst and Ellsworth. Let's look at the process for tending to a fresh cask. Casks have two openings, one in the front, where the tap is going to be inserted, and a second on the top. The cellarman inserts a bung with a hole in the middle called a shive into the top hole, and a porous reed called a spile into the hole. The porous spile allows CO2 to vent during fermentation. When fermentation has slowed to the proper level, the soft spile is replaced with a solid hard spile to help build light carbonation in the beer. This hard spile is removed when beer is served to allow air to fill the space of the cask as beer flows out. It takes skill to know when the cask has reached its optimal point, and when to add other components to the cask, including dry hops for added flavor, or finings, traditionally isinglass, which allows the beer to pour clear. When the cask is ready to serve, a tap is hammered into the bung in the front of the cask, and the hard spile is removed. There are two ways in which cask ale may be served. By gravity, where the keg is placed on or above the bar and beer allowed to flow down into the glass, or through a beer engine, which is most common. In the latter case, casks are stored in the cellar of a pub, and the beer lines run up to a beer engine, which you may have seen and attribute to British pubs. Pulling the handle of the beer engine causes the engine to draw beer from the cask and fill its chamber, dispensing half a pint of beer per pull. Some spouts have an attachment called a sparkler, which helps to promote a head on the beer, although this is less common in southern England. Cask ale may throw off drinkers who are used to a cold beer with a good amount of head and carbonation. Oftentimes there is half an inch or less of head on a cask ale pour, and the beer is served at cellar temperature of 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit with little carbonation. While it's an acquired taste, drinking beer served on cask helps to bring out more of the beer's flavor that is otherwise masked by cold temperature and higher levels of carbonation. One concern with cask ale is that it must be consumed quickly. As the casks are open to the air, they are subject to rapid staling and are only of best quality for a few days. Although some setups utilize a tool called a cask breather to substitute CO2 to fill the headspace, it is not traditional. If you're not in the UK, it may be hard to find the real deal, but it's worth the effort to enjoy this unique way to present styles such as bitters and milds. This video only really glazes over the topic of cask ale. It's a very interesting subject. If you want to know more, pretty much the best book to cover is called Cellarmanship by Patrick O'Neill. This is a copy of the most recent edition of it. Especially if someone like me who's studying for the advanced Cicerone exam, this is really detailed and covers all aspects of cellarmanship, basically, and how to store, keep, and maintain cask beer, as well as all the components. So it might be a little heavy for just the average reader, but if you're just curious about this way to serve beer, I think it's pretty fascinating. And I try to find cask ale whenever it is available on tap. All right. That's it for this video, and until next week, cheers.